Hello there, social media. I am Dr. Brett Spradlin, and we are at Divine Design Natural Health once again for yet another installment of a wellness workshop, what we call WellWorks. We have a crazy, crazy crowd here ready to go out of control. Crazy crowd, crazy crowd. Don't get between them and dinner. So we're here to discuss Life is in the Blood, okay? And the kind of subtitle of this one is The Proof is in the Poke. I wanted to kind of, come on in, y'all. Don't be afraid. We got a seat for you right in down Spit Central right here. Come on down. So we want to, oh, and Andrew, we installed some microphones recently. So now we have the ability to listen to what you're thinking about what I'm saying. Totally kidding. You guys, so we don't have to hand a microphone around the room. So now when you want to talk, you just talk. How you doing, sir? Good to see you, Riley. Good. You feeling better? Great. So now the whole premise of this whole discussion is the proof is in the poke. And we'll get to it here in a minute. I want to share some other things with you guys. But the proof is in the poke, life is in the blood. I want to talk about two things. We're going to talk about functional blood chemistry analysis, or when people go get their blood drawn. One way of referring to that and how people read that, doctors like me sometimes, who are a lot of functional medicine doctors and things like that, will do what's called functional blood chemistry analysis. And we can talk about that. I'll draw some things on the board for you. And Hannah's passing out folders for anyone who's never been here before. And we'll talk about a lot of things concerning blood. We'll talk about also some of the things that we've talked about before in other previous classes, such as what certain drugs can do to the blood. But we're also going to talk about the most hotly debated topic. So any of you who are tuned in now, you'll want to stay until the end. You'll probably want to know about the most hotly debated topic that will get you kicked out of schools, doctors' offices, and called all kinds of names, regardless of how you approach it, whether you approach it rationally and soundly, or whether you approach it just being very convicted about it. This one topic, which I'm not going to say what it is right now, you'll want to stick around to the end, will get you more hatred and more vitriol than anything else in all of medicine. How many of you might know? If you have an idea of what it is, just raise your hand. 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. Wow, this guy's educated right here. He knows what's up. So we'll talk about that, and this is very important. Any of you have kids, any of you have grandkids, if you've watched any of the news recently about certain things going on in certain communities, you will want to know about this topic because we've got a lot of good information. A few things that I like to do before we get into the main thrust of what we're doing here. Everybody's got their name tags on, thank you. Awesome, well, with the exception of these guys. This guy. We've got folders handed out. Come on down. Ooh, I've got more people to spit on. Get over here. But I just want to welcome you to Divine Design Natural Health and say we have, well, one thing too before we move on into the big thing. One thing we thought of today for Memorial Day, Father's Day, all kinds of things. We really feel around here for our armed forces. I have a very special place in my heart. I never was military, but I have a special place in my heart for those who were or are or have been. So we are doing a Memorial Day service member special. Okay, this is for anybody. So in honor of Memorial Day and our service members' sacrifices, we're offering all active duty service members, veterans, active duty or non-active, if you were there or if you were past, present, or future. Well, we can't do future, can we? Everybody'd be here. All active duty service members, veterans, and their immediate families, their choice of a complimentary ionic foot spa or infrared sauna. You must call to schedule your complimentary detox service before Memorial Day. Yes, that goes for you, Facebook. Anybody else around here that's in our general vicinity, local area, we will extend that to anybody. If you know somebody, if anybody here, any patient or anybody watching Facebook knows somebody who's military, has been military, was military, who's helped out our country, complimentary, get them in here. Let's tell them, let's show them what we're doing for their community. We love that they've defended our country. I would love to extend this actually to cops and firefighters, law enforcement officers, LEOs, all kinds of paramedics, EMTs, stuff like that, but we might get overrun. I think maybe we'll do that on another holiday. If you know anyone who served our country, please invite them to call this week to redeem this complimentary offer. So just call before Memorial Day, and we'll get you booked when we can, but if you can just call before, before this weekend, there's a date on here, redeem this complimentary offer Call this week, sometime by Friday afternoon. If you or someone you know that you want to get in here is in need of care and needs to be here or needs to know what's going on with their body or needs to get back to health, from what we're going to talk about tonight, it hit me right before this class, from what we're going to talk about, you're going to understand why so many service people, so many people, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, are sick. And it's something that we've talked about in previous classes, but this applies to them as well, okay? So we want to extend that. The Memorial Day Service Member Special, complimentary foot spa or a sauna. That's an hour-long sauna thing. So you guys can come in and understand what we do, get a free service. I wanted to announce that to you. We're going to see how that goes, see if we might do the same thing for Father's Day. We already missed Mother's Day, so sorry, moms. So just real quick, that was our, call by May 27th, and then we'll get you booked for that. I want to read a few testimonials just to show you some of the things that have been going on in the last few weeks. Just real quick, I'll read through these. This was somebody just recently, she got her first adjustment. I want to show you, this isn't just a mom and pop chop shop where we just whack them, crack them, stack them. We're rebuilding their joints, their bones, their blood vessels, their arteries, their hearts, their nerves, their livers, right, Kim? We're helping people learn how to eat. We're treating them as family, and we're teaching them how to fish rather than just writing them a prescription for a fish sandwich. Wow, that was good. I just made that up. That was good. Write that down. That was really good. So we're teaching them how to live. We have been totally mistaken on so many levels, and when we discuss what we're going to hit tonight, you're going to understand it in a whole new way. But we've been totally mistaken on so many levels. We had some folks today that came by. They had a little situation. They went to J-Fest. It's a local music festival, and they wore some sunscreen, and they got burned. And I said, well, sunscreen, I explained to them the thing about sunscreen and how, well, we invented sunscreen, and then skin cancer went through the roof. And they said, oh my gosh, I never knew that. I said, well, neither did I. Now I'm telling you, and I'm trying to help you. So once they got that and they understood, yeah, skin cancer is still around, even though we've had we've had sunscreen for 30, 40, 50, well, how many years, decades have we had? And it didn't do anything for skin cancer other than increase it. So some of the things, the point of that is some of the things that we're told aren't necessarily 100% true. Some of it's misinformation and some of it's deliberate disinformation. So we're not here to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm here to send you a message that not everything we've been told is 100% truthful, okay? So I'm going to share these with you so that you understand that there are people coming out of the woodwork, understanding and waking up, okay? Here's somebody with their first adjustment. I was involved in an accident when I was 16 and suffered side whiplash, which has caused 20 plus years of neck and upper back pain. This was my first whole body adjustment, and it was incredible. I feel so much looser and energetic, and I'm looking forward to getting one weekly for a while. So that was somebody that just got started with the chiropractic. That's just one thing about chiropractic. Before, had lots of low back pain, especially right hip. After only 3 weeks, my pain is completely gone. That's somebody who's older, has been on meds, has been in a situation for a long time in the medical world, and within 3 weeks, her hip pain's gone. Okay, that's not pumping my own tires or tooting my own horn. That's just saying what we do works, okay, because it's based on something that's ancient. And it's not just my thought. I came in on Thursday with a huge psoriasis flare-up. It was on my face, on the inside elbows, my neck, my stomach. It was extremely itchy and oozing. It was so painful I even felt bad for days. Friday was the worst. On Saturday, I was retested for supplements. We came in and tested her on Saturday for supplements and saw flare-ups were starting to scab and not ooze anymore. By Monday morning, the scabs had mostly fallen off and I'm feeling much better. I've never seen my skin heal so fast. What did we do for her? We used cold laser, we used nutrition, and we taught her how to not put a bunch of Neosporin on her skin, okay? Very simple. Not that she was using Neosporin, if you're listening, but that's what we would do. That's what most of us would do. I used to think my friend was crazy. I love this. Talking about what we're often led to believe or what we're often not allowed to believe because of other people's ideas. I used to think my friend was crazy when she'd talk about all the benefits of chiropractic adjustments, and she went off about how her friend had had all these digestive problems and all these period issues and all these menstrual things and all this headaches and all this, and she thought, well, how can that affect, they're just cracking your bones. How can that affect your skin? How can that affect your digestion? And then she said, now I walk away in awe of how much clearer I can think, lighter my body feels, and all around better I feel at all times. It's amazing. Most of these are chiropractic. I don't pick these. Hannah actually picks these. And this was somebody who was just unable to work. Her menstrual cycle was every 17 days, and she was miserable. But now she says, I've been improving in many areas since coming to Divine Design. I now have an at-home job that I love and I'm thriving at. I've not worked in numerous years, mostly due to health issues. Also, my menstrual cycle has been every 17 days for months. This month, I went 22 days. So she's building it back up. The reason that she was sick for years is what we're going to talk about later on in a little while. And her story is echoed times tens of thousands of people out there. She's a mom, and she was not able to work for a long time because of what she went through. Now, because she got healthier, see, it's not about what this costs you. This is about what this saves you. Okay, natural health is going to be cheaper and more affordable than any other medical thing you can ever do. A CAT scan costs you $4,000 to $5,000. We can treat you for the entire year for that amount. And we can actually tell you what's wrong. So people need to think about how they approach this instead of how can I afford this, or oh, this is so expensive. This is so much more affordable than anything else you're going to be doing. And we're going to save you 10 or 15, 20 years in the nursing home. Average nursing home, 80 grand a year. I read that the other day. 60 or 80 grand a year, and then most of them are over 100 grand a year. So good luck paying for that with Social Security and Medicare, right? And so then we're going to save you a bunch of time. We're going to save you a bunch of money, and we're going to save you a bunch of heartache. And you'll increase your productivity by doing better at your job, getting more bonuses, getting a second job, doing whatever you need to do to succeed financially. And that's what this mom did right here. Do not let me forget. Hannah, I need somebody to remind me to write stuff down. Hold on. I'm going to make a little note without giving it away. We got to talk about later. Sorry, I was yelling for a little note taker. Here's another one. I had pain and pressure and extreme discomfort in my lower right abdomen area on one morning. Nervousness and uncertainty began to rise with the pressure and the discomfort. What she had, without going into massive detail, she was having a gallbladder attack, or she had a gallstone of some sort going on. She came to and ended up, she was passed out. She came to, not here at home, declined the ambulance ride. She came here, keeping her faith in God's natural healing rather than the medical system. The problem was her gallbladder, my gallbladder. My body was passing gallstones. With the supplements, cold laser, chiropractic rest, prayer, and anointing with oils, I pulled through, and I'm beyond thankful and still have my gallbladder. So not only did we save her the medical bills of a surgery, but now we saved her that, I hate even to say but we allowed her to keep her organ that with the deficit of that the rest of her life would have led to a lot of other problems. So I'm saying all that to say this. We're going to save you time, we're going to save you money, we're going to save you energy, and it's going to be the most rewarding healthcare and the most affordable healthcare you're going to have. Amen? Amen. Amen. Oh, and you need to figure out how much of your story you want to tell. I want to give you some time at the end.
Yeah, that's what I need to.
Yeah. And I want you to give that picture to Andrew because we need to put that, if he can find a way to stick that up on the screen for the punchline at the very end. Oh, that would be powerful. Okay, so getting right into the nuts and bolts. My goal is to give you a little bit of ammunition. My goal is to arm you and make you aware of a lot of things that are happening out there that you all need to know about. There are certain things being censored these days from the internet. How many of you know what those are? You'd think it could not happen. People are nodding. You'd think it could not happen, but it can. And there are certain things that are not allowed to even be mentioned in many places without you being called crazy name or like a quack or a baby killer or what have you, okay? And we're just going to set the record straight. There's a lot of information that's out there. I'm going to turn you on to some websites and some things that you need to know about. All of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight has to do with blood. So what you need to understand about blood is if you can imagine like a pipeline joining all the different parts of your body, joining all the different countries in the world. It's just this massive pipeline, and there's these rafts floating on the liquid, on the oil in the pipeline from place to place, country to country. And all these rafts have food and water, and other rafts have waste and refuse and plastic, and they're all going all over the world. Those little rafts would be red blood cells. Okay, the pipeline would be the plasma or the water or the fluid that's in your blood, but the red blood cells themselves are the way that your body transfers oxygen, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, lipids, proteins, neurotransmitters, hormones, everything travels, not everything, but many things travel on your red blood cells. So there's 100 trillion cells in your body. Okay, that's a lot, 100 trillion. So when we adjust somebody and we turn on a couple trillion cells by adjusting their hands, their shoulders, their elbows, their wrists, their hips, their knees, their ankles, their toes, their spine, their skull bones, you're turning on not just the arteries, nerves, veins, ligaments, lymph nodes, tendons, everything that holds those bones to those bones, but everything that holds those muscles to those bones, and everything that goes through those muscles. So all of your arteries, your blood vessels, your veins, your lymph nodes, you're turning on so many hundreds and hundreds of billions of cells. There are 100 trillion cells in the body. So if we just adjust one joint, we're turning on tens of thousands, if not millions of receptors in your body. So just keep that in mind. So a speck of blood the size of a lower, just look at a piece of paper, or just the size of a lowercase o, about that dot, if you can even see that from where you sit. The size of a lowercase o on a printed piece of paper contains 5 million red blood cells. It's about 300,000 platelets and about 7,000 white blood cells. So your white blood cells, that's your immune system. Those are going to be important. We're going to talk about those later. But your red blood cells are the rafts that carry the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. Just remember that. Blood carries oxygen, nutrients, it removes carbon dioxide, all the uric acid and everything that builds up in your, say you took has anybody ever done this? Put a blood pressure cuff or like a tight band or a bracelet around your hand and just start doing this. And over time, you're going to have agonizing, excruciating, shooting, stabbing, aching, throbbing pain in this hand. That is because you're building up the metabolites. You're having respiration. You're having turnover from energy to waste product. And all of that is building up in the muscles of your hand. So the minute you let that go, you'll feel the cleansing power of the blood. Amen. You'll feel that immediately. So the blood is able to get the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. If the circulation is cut off to a certain area, or if you put a blood pressure cuff here, and then you start doing this with your hand, you'll feel the same thing. And at some point, it will cramp up and it will become disastrously painful. Pull that blood pressure cuff off, and you'll feel the blood just, it's a pretty interesting thing. You ought to do it. Eddie, do that with Kim when you get home tonight. But do it like right around here. Just kidding. So you got 60,000 miles of blood vessels in you. Okay, red blood cells circulate 500,000 trips over 4 months. That's 500,000 trips. These blood cells, once they get worn down, your body cannibalizes them, breaks them down, and ends up shipping them out and making it the color of, the reason your poo is that color is that's broken down blood cells, red blood cells for the most part. It's called bilirubin. It turns into a byproduct of, so when your body cannibalizes those red blood cells, remember there's no DNA in your red blood cells. So if you watch your crime shows, there's no DNA in those, they're anucleated. There's no nucleus in the red blood cells. So there's no DNA there. So your body can break those down and recycle them. And your spleen does that. That's why your spleen is so important. So 3 minutes, well, we won't get into that. But if you look at Leviticus, chapter 3, chapter 7, chapter 17, it mentions in there numerous times the life of the creature is in the blood. And it laid out very specific things about not eating food sacrificed to pagan idols. You weren't supposed to eat food. You weren't supposed to eat meat with blood in it. You weren't supposed to eat the meat of strangled animals. And so that's why when Jesus said, hey, eat my flesh and drink my blood right after feeding 5,000 people, a lot of people turned on him, and a lot of the Jewish leaders and people said, no, this is too much. We can't. He's talking about cannibalism. We can't do this. But he wasn't talking about cannibalism. He was talking about something that it's far away above and beyond. Now we're able to understand it in a whole new way. But what I want you to get from this is from blood, the importance of blood. Blood is what keeps you alive. The life of the critter, the life of the flesh, I say the life of the critter because we're in Tennessee, is in the blood. Understand that. So now, when we talk about blood chemistry analysis, there's only 3 things I want to get into about blood chemistry analysis. The big thing that people need to understand. Can I erase the drop of blood here? The big thing that people need to understand is blood chemistry analysis. There's 3 things. Reference ranges I want to talk about. Oops. Reference ranges, okay? They are not standardized even by state to state. You cannot find standardized reference ranges of human, white blood cells, red blood cells, things like this. You'll find massive reference ranges, but there are no standardized ranges for cells. When we're talking about pathological blood chemistry analysis, we're saying from here to here, pathological. Okay, so if your cholesterol is too far this way, it's pathological, and you get your blood report that says high, or it'll have a little H next to it. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? If your blood glucose is beyond this level, it'll say low. Okay, that's pathological. So beyond this level or beyond that level, you are termed pathological. You thus have a disease. If you have blood sugar that's past a certain point high, if you have cholesterol that's past a certain point high, if you have liver enzymes that are below a certain point low, if you're outside of this reference range, which there are no standardized things that say exactly, because every human's different. If you're outside of these ranges, it's a pathological blood chemistry. It's pathological, meaning now you have a disease, okay? Functional blood chemistry analysis, which is something I used to do a lot, would draw a little bar right here and say, okay, well, if you're not necessarily pathological, why don't we look and see what can we do ahead of time functionally? What can we do ahead of time? So if we see this number going this way, then we can supplement, or we can do something ahead of time instead of waiting for everything to get pathological going below a certain point. Does that make sense to everybody? This is your rotors grinding right here. This is your brake pads squeaking. Is that an analogy I can use on everybody? You hear the brake pad squeak and you're like, oh, that's functional. I better get that fixed, or else I'm going to have to pay for the rotors too. Does that make sense? So functional blood chemistry analysis is a smaller range. You're saying, well, hey, before the glucose gets high, or the cholesterol gets high, or the liver enzymes get way low, and we're in a disastrous state, why don't we do something ahead of time? The only problem is, a lot of times, insurance doesn't like that, because insurance will only pay for, in many cases, HSAs and FSAs are sometimes different, but insurance will only pay if you are diagnosed with, oh, my thyroid levels are low, my estrogen levels are low, okay? That's what they're talking about. It's low or high beyond a certain pathological range, in which case we can label it with a disease, stick an insurance code on it, and then give you a pathological diagnosis. Does that make sense? They are based, why are there not reference ranges? They're based on who gets their blood tests. Who gets their blood tested? Sick people or healthy people? Say it louder. Sick people? So are they based? So all of your reference ranges would be based on healthy populations or diseased populations. Reference ranges are based on diseased populations. And the third reason, does that make sense to everybody? Who's going to the doctor to get their blood tested? Not healthy people. Third part I want you to get. This will disregard when you go and get your blood tested. Should you go get your blood tested? Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but what I'm saying is this. They're looking for pathological ranges in most cases. There are some people who are going to be looking for functional ranges, but here's the deal. You got to understand, all of these, the ranges that we do have are all becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Why? The cholesterol, normal cholesterol used to be like 300-400. Now what is it? The range gets smaller. What happens to the profit of Lipitor? What happens? If we decrease the reference range, which we already determined has already been jacked with, if we decrease the reference range of your thyroid hormones, and we say below this is sick and below this, or above this is high, if we make that a smaller range, what happens to the profit of Synthroid or levothyroxine? Does the drug sales go up or drug sales go down? It goes up. Right? So if we manipulate and change the reference ranges, which we already know are jacked with, we can all of a sudden say, well, if we put 8-year-olds on Lipitor and we say low cholesterol is good, if we put 8-year-olds on Lipitor, that means our market share for the drug went up astronomically. If we take normal cholesterol from 240 and say normal cholesterol is now 220 or 200, what did we just do to the profits of the drug companies? Regardless of what it did to the health of the consumer. Does that make sense? So the reference ranges that are not standardized for diseased populations, and they disregard healthy blood for a sick body. That means you're sick, but on paper, you look healthy. How many of you know that? So many people. So many people. They're sick as a dog, but on paper, they go to the doctor, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. I'm healthy as a horse. But they're sick. They're sicker than a dog, but the doctor says, oh, everything's looking good. Everything's within normal range. You've heard it. Everything's within normal range. Everything's within normal limits. Your blood glucose is low and your levothyrox, this and that's high, this and that's low. But overall, you're good. But what if they're not good? You're paying for something that is telling you, that's giving you a false sense of security, right? So I just wanted to hit on that. Do we use blood chemistry? Yes. Am I trained in it? Yeah. Can we do it? Yes. But the problem with it, going back to this, is the fact that when I used to pull a lot of people's blood and look at their blood, I realized something really quickly. When I was in school, I thought, blood is the answer to everything because you can instantly see a snapshot of their health. What I found when I got out and I started looking at really doing the stuff, see, you don't learn much about blood in school at all. You learn it on your own by going to seminars, okay? And now there's some things we won't talk about here, but live blood cell analysis, if some of you have heard some of this. There's some very interesting stuff out there right now as far as live blood cell analysis, but we won't get into that right now. But when I started really looking at people's blood, they would bring in stacks of paper and say, here's all my blood work. And I'd go right to the top one, because the last 4 years, I appreciate that, but I can't change the last 4 years. So I'm just going to look at the most current one, 6 months ago, already outdated. But what I would see is I'm looking at their intake paperwork, and I'm going, man, they're on 12 drugs, and they've got a crappy diet. How valuable is this blood work? Zero, worthless, nothing. Because when I look at the blood work, am I looking at their blood? Or am I looking at doctored, chemically altered, genetically modified, crappy food with a whole bunch of chemical drugs that's changing their blood chemistry? So this, not only are the reference ranges jacked of diseased populations, and they're sick as a dog, but they look healthy as a horse on paper, but I'm looking at fake blood. So how many of you are paying for your insurance company, the premiums and deductibles and copays, to go get your blood drawn, only to be told, well, yeah, it's good, but you're on 12 meds and you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner crap food that's killing you, and that's what's causing your high blood pressure. But you're taking the lisinopril for 35 years with no end in sight. That's really all I'm going to say about the blood labs, because what we really want to get into is the biggest thing that's posing a big, giant health risk, and it has everything to do with your blood. It has everything to do with your blood because they want to get into it. So here's the deal. The biggest, most hotly, insanely debated topic in all of healthcare is what? Say it louder so our new microphones can pick it up.
Vaccines.
Vaccines, correct. Now, I'm not into arguing with people. You're never going to hear me argue with somebody. I'm just going to present the facts. I'm going to say, look, if you don't want to look at the facts and you just want to parrot CNN and parrot what's his name, Anderson Cooper, I'm not interested. But if you want to sit down and have a rational conversation, if you want to talk about things, cool. If you want to call me a baby killer and tell me I'm uneducated and some quack who doesn't know what he's talking about, let me just tell you a little story. I got 3 bachelor's degrees, 4 minors, a doctorate, and 2 postdocs. So I ain't stupid. I played this game for a while. I've been in school for 13 years. I went to chiropractic school, hardly learned anything about autism other than most of it was genetic. Cancer was genetic, okay? But when I went to school for my undergrad degree, so for biomedical sciences, I'm sitting in a vaccinology course. The subject of vaccines always intrigued me. But it was a vaccinology course at a major public university in Michigan. And at the very end of the course, this was a course, I don't know if I've ever told this story on camera before, but I feel like I should really tell this. At the end of this course, it was a graduate level course. This was for my undergrad in biomedical sciences before I went to graduate school. So this was a 5,000 level undergraduate course at Western Michigan University, and it was called vaccinology. It was the study of vaccines. It was, I forget if they called it a seminar course or a teleconference course or something, but it was satellite linked so that each week we would have an instructor or a professor or somebody from Harvard. This first week it would be Harvard, and it would be the top researcher in poultry vaccines. And the next week it would be somebody from Dartmouth, and it would be the top person in bovine vaccines. And then the next week it would be somebody from Princeton, and it was like all these Ivy League schools. Well, the whole reason they did this at my university was Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, the headquarters of the world's largest pharmaceutical corporation, was a mile down the street from my university. So they had a lot of their scientists in that vaccinology course auditing the course because they make vaccines. So the top people in the world were all piping into this satellite class that was fed into my university, and I'm sitting there with Pfizer scientists next to me, and one of the most brilliant teachers I'd ever had up to that point. I won't mention his name because what I'm about to tell you would probably get him shot. But at the end of the 16-week course, after learning everything about vaccines, it's so complicated, DNA vaccines, RNA vaccines, what we did with mumps and measles and rubella and smallpox and polio and all this stuff, I was brainwashed, absolutely brainwashed. You could not have told me that vaccines did not save billions of lives. You could not have told me. So the whole point of this course was to build your own vaccine. The whole point of it was to figure out administration route, how would you get it to the third world country? If it's a live vaccine, you have to keep it refrigerated. How would you do it? How would you administer it? Is it going to be a shot? Is it going to be nasal spray? I came up with this Listerine breath strip idea, which I'm sure somebody's done it by now. But you would put it on their mouth, and it would just dissolve and go into their bloodstream. That's a $1 million idea right there. I missed out. But make a long story short, at the very end of the course, the instructor who mediated all the speaking from all these different people from all over the world stepped up and he said, I have 2 daughters. It's been a wonderful pleasure, class, teaching you this last semester. I wish you all the best of your endeavors. And just for the record, and to set it all straight, I have 2 daughters. Neither one of them are vaccinated. Neither one of them ever will be. Thank you, and have a very nice career. And walked off stage. Everybody's running to go get to the bar and get loaded. It's the end of the semester. Everybody's running off as fast as they can. Everybody's packing bags and slamming seats. And it's a big 500-person auditorium class. And I heard what I said, hey, did you hear? Did I just hear what he said? Hey, did anybody hear? Did I just hear what I think I heard? And that was the beginning of my vaccine journey. That was me going, that dude knows something that he can't say. Why would his daughters not be vaccinated? And I sit in class next to one of them. So I'm going to pick her brain on this. So that was the beginning of my vaccine thing, but it was years later until I finally realized what's going on. So right now, what you're seeing in the news is all of this malarkey about, I will tell you, if you get your information from TV, you're getting the wrong information. It's all lies. I'm just here to tell you. I'm not biased in one way or the other, but I watch enough TV every once in a while. When I stay in hotels, I can see the changes made from 6 months ago to now, and it blows my mind. Just what's on the TV, just what's on the news. So the questions you need to ask yourself is, are there enough people causing problems with this whole vaccine thing? In other words, do they pose a risk? Are they undeniably safe at all times? No. Are they effective at all times? No. So do they pose a risk? You have to answer the question yes or no. Do they pose a risk? Can somebody be injured by a vaccine? What's the answer? Yeah, everybody knows, right? So do they pose a risk? Yes. The other question you have to ask yourself, and these are just, you will not ever have a rational conversation with an emotional person. So if somebody's already calling you names and saying, oh, I don't believe that, no, blah, blah, move on. Don't waste your breath. You're going to run into a debate. And you don't want to debate, you want to have a conversation. So just these things alone, and you might want to write these down. You're going to have these talks at reunions. You're going to have these talks at family gatherings. You're going to have these, I know people here who don't talk to their brothers and sisters. They can't take their nieces and nephews around. They can't be around their nieces and nephews because they don't vaccinate their kids. I had a mom come in 2 or maybe 3 weeks ago. What was it? She was ahead of 20 or 30 other moms that had gotten kicked out of a pediatrician's office. Like, she said, a group of 20 or 30 moms. She was looking for a doctor to bring everybody to. I said, great, you found the right place. Guess what? I've got more. Oh, and Hannah, can you grab the TTAV and Vaccines Revealed and all that stuff? And the books and Vaccine Compendium and all that stuff. I've got more resources on all this stuff than you guys will ever have time to read in your lives. And it's not biased stuff, it's rational stuff that's not emotional. If you listen to what people are saying online and you listen to what people, if you just put a post, you want to start a firestorm on your Facebook or social media, just put something like, vaccines aren't safe. Or just put something like, I don't believe in vaccines. And watch your aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, mothers, uncles, and monkeys all attack you in a heartbeat. Okay? So do vaccines pose a risk? Yes. There's a risk. It says it right on the insert. It says it right on the package. Could cause, this product has been known to cause encephalitis. What is encephalitis? Encepha means brain. Itis means swelling. So swelling of the brain. Says it right on the package. Most of them right on the insert, okay? Are credentialed experts divided on the issue of safety and or efficacy? Yes. These are questions you'll want to write down because people are going to hit you about this. Are credentialed experts divided? In other words, do you have credentialed experts that say, yes, vaccines are great, and other credentialed experts think it, and other credentialed experts that say, no, the evidence is overwhelmingly on the opposite end of the spectrum? The answer is yes, or else you wouldn't be having this debate and CNN wouldn't be trying to shove it down your throats. Third question, should I have a right over my body or my child concerning injection of what we know to be known toxins? The narrative is unlimited, forced, mandatory vaccinations. That's the narrative. That's what you're being sold. Do you understand? Unlimited, mandatory, forced vaccination, sometimes at gunpoint, is what they're talking about. They will take your children from you. That's what they're talking about. So should you have a right over your body? Only you can answer that, yes or no. Is there a link between vaccines and neurological damage? Widely, 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 everywhere you look, including the inserts of the vaccines, which are printed by the manufacturers like Merck and like Pfizer and like GlaxoSmithKline. It says it on the box. I have a patient who is a pharmacist who brought me all the vaccine inserts from all the vaccines at the pharmacy. I'm still going through them because they're so shocking. And they're folded up into a little origami thing like this. You've got a 16-page fold out like this, and it's folded up into a little thing that looks like this. 8-point font. You know why they do 8-point font? Most humans can't read it. That's why they do that. It's like this, and it folds out to a manual that looks like for a skyscraper. It looks like blueprints to a skyscraper. It's unbelievable. You should see this thing. Has the CDC been implicated? And it says right in the inserts, it says neurological damage. It says encephalitis, among other things. Has the CDC been implicated in fraud? Ever? Has the FDA ever been implicated in fraud? Yeah. Have they been implicated in deception? Many times, not just with Vioxx, not just with other drugs, not just with Gardasil. That's what this meant, by the way. Gardasil, the mom who had a previous problem with Gardasil. Gardasil's for cervical cancer. By the way, they're coming for you with the next thing. It's coming. Mark my words, people. If you don't hear this, cancer vaccines. That's what they're coming next. That's what mandatory forced vaccination. If you don't have cancer, I won't get cancer. That's what they're coming for. Has the CDC been implicated in fraud and deception? The answer is yes. How many of you know what the CDC whistleblower case even is that happened in 2014? Anyone? 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 No? The CDC whistleblower case? See, it's not even on the news. It's all over the internet. Can't find it on the news. 2 CDC researchers admitted that they'd cooked the books and that they'd thrown out a bunch of data on the MMR vaccines back in 2001. They'd admitted that they falsified a bunch of data and got rid of a bunch of records. So there's been documentaries made about this. There's a court case going. It's happening right now. Robert F. Kennedy is getting involved. He's got a website called, I'll get to the website here in a minute, but you guys need to know these websites. Vaccine Papers, Learn the Risk. There's a ton of information out there that you need to know about this. But all of it is dealing with the CDC's deception and the FDA's deception. Have they been implicated in malfeasance? And that's just the performance by a public official of an act that's illegal or unjustifiable. So have they been implicated? Yeah. Have they been called on the carpet? Yes. How many of you have seen the movie Doctored that we show here? We usually show it the first week that you're here. And it's all about the Wilk versus AMA case where the AMA and a few other pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies were banding together to try to eliminate natural health care back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Does anybody remember seeing that movie when you started here? Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that we're pulling everything offline right now is those movies, these movies are getting taken off of Amazon. These movies got removed. Doctored got removed from YouTube, censored. So the question to ask yourself, we're living in a new era of McCarthyism. Remember what the whole McCarthyism thing was? You know, if they're telling you that you can't watch something or read something, you need to look into it. This right here is a massive documentary series of some of the top doctors on the planet, pediatricians, oncologists, some of them chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopaths, many of them medical doctors and DOs who are now speaking out and saying the truth about vaccines needs to be revealed. This is massive. This is a couple $100. I bought a copy of it for the office. You know how many people have ever rented this out? Or I don't even rent it. I just loan it out. How many people have ever loaned this out? How many people have ever taken any of these home? Maybe 2. They're afraid to see it. You know, a lot of people, and a lot of people already know what it is. Oh yeah, vaccines revealed. A group of different people did this one, The Truth About Vaccines. These are different doctors. Most of these, a lot of them, pediatricians. How did they get into this? Because they had a child that got vaccine damaged right in front of their faces. So anecdotal evidence? Absolutely. Are you ever going to see it in peer-reviewed white journals? Nope. But when you got a pediatrician that all of a sudden has a vaccine-damaged kid, or a medical doctor that has a vaccine-damaged kid, how are you going to refute that in the court? You're not, right? But a lot of these are being removed. Here's the episodes, the transcripts. You can even, if you don't want to watch the videos, you can just loan the book out. It's all in print. We've got a vaccine research compendium out there that has thousands and thousands and thousands of published peer-reviewed journal papers from PubMed database that links a lot of the vaccines to various diseases, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, asthma, allergies. So many of these children are being really messed up by a lot of these vaccines. So the big thing I want you to get is you have to think about some of these things. Are vaccines causing a problem? Ask some of the nurses that are refusing to. There's 10s and 20s and 30,000 groups of people on Facebook that are nurses that refuse to be immunized. They refuse to get the forced vaccination. So do they pose a risk? Yes. Are experts divided? Yes. Should you have a right over your body? Yes. Is there a link between vaccines and diseases, or in this case, neurological damage? Yeah. It's all over the place. And has the CDC been implicated in fraud and deception? Yes. So we already talked about my undergrad experience as far as what led to me that was the first time I'd ever really thought of or heard about vaccine and thinking about investigating it. And then years later is when I finally started looking into this stuff and started realizing what some of my patients started realizing later on. Some of my patients had a real hard time with the vaccine thing. But they would get the fluoride thing. They'd go, yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, it's for your teeth, so why are we swallowing it? They'd finally get that. They'd understand the geoengineering thing. They'd understand the GMOs, the genetically modified foods thing. And they'd understand the drug companies and how it's fraud and deception and malfeasance and all this other stuff. But when it came to vaccines, they couldn't get it. They didn't want to get it. And then finally, like them, years ago, I just started passing it down to my patients. I started saying, well, the GMOs and the fluoride and the drugs and all the other problems, all the other pesticides and the chemicals, they're made by the same companies. So if they didn't tell you the truth about the drugs, why do you think they'd tell you the truth about the vaccines? If Vioxx last year, the opioid epidemic killed more Americans than the Vietnam War, right? Why would they tell you the truth about that why would they not Why would they not tell us about it ahead of time? Is what I'm saying. If it was really for our own good, why would they try to hide things? So the biggest thing that you need to know, there are 300 new vaccinations in development. 300. Okay? These are fast-tracked through the FDA. They do not go through the same safety and efficacy standards that drugs have to go to, because drugs go into your mouth, go into your digestive system, and your body takes care of whatever. Some things get past your digestive system. It's designed that way. But when you're doing a vaccine, and the vaccines, let's get this straight out. I'm going to have to cut off a lot of this. We don't have time to get into this. But vaccines are not the same as immunizations. Understand this. An immunization, an immunized person, you cut yourself, something gets in there, your body forms an antibody response to it, an immune response to it. You are now immunized. Your body has sampled that pathogen and said, okay, it spreads it out. That's what your white blood cells do. Your body gobbles up the bad guys, breaks it up, cannibalizes it, cuts it into sections, and spreads it out throughout the rest of the body so the whole body's awake and watching for that guy. Okay? That's immunization. Vaccination is where you take it right past your digestive tract, past your nasal, mucus, membranes, everything, and put it right into your bloodstream. That's a vaccination, based on the Latin word vacca for cow. That's where the word vaccination comes from. And it came from Edward Jenner, England, 1796. Edward Jenner took his son, sacrificially, rubbed cowpox into a sore, and he didn't end up getting smallpox. That's where the whole vaccination thing came from. Now, years later, his son died because he kept doing live culture experiments on his own son. Sounds like pharmakia, doesn't it? Crazy, huh? We won't get into that right now. But so the widespread promotion of all these vaccinations, there's 300 of them. The widespread promotion is on the way. They're already coming at you with the cancer vaccines. That's what Gardasil is. Gardasil is HPV, cervical cancer prevention, just like they're coming at with the PrEP pill for HIV prevention. Have you guys seen this one yet? If you're going to have a wild night, take this pill, the PrEP pill. Has nobody seen this? You've seen the billboard. There's one on the way to Chattanooga. The PrEP is, if you're going to have a wild night, take this preventative, what does it say? It's a preventative STD.
Yeah, it's
For HIV, yeah. A preventative prophylactic against HIV.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing, only that's a pill. This is vaccinations, people. They're getting it right into your bloodstream, past all of your... Why do they cause damage? Because once it's past your digestive tract and your nasal cavities, your nasal mucous membranes, and all of your tonsils, which is the beginning of your immune system right here, which is why they get removed first. Okay? Once it's past that and it's into your bloodstream, it's fair game. Kids are having immune problems and allergy problems because all of the peanuts and the milk and the stuff. If you read the vaccine inserts, I'm not going to argue with people on this. I will go in my office and I will pull out of a file all the vaccine inserts for every vaccine in the town of Cleveland, Tennessee. And I will show you peanut oil in every vaccine. You want to know why your kids can't take Snickers bars to school anymore? Because they've got peanut oil in their blood and their body's making an antibody response to it, people. You want to know what else is in the vaccines? Aborted fetal stem cells. You want to know what else is in the vaccines? Blood from other critters. You want to know what else is in the vaccines? Viruses, parasites, bacteria. Every vaccine has an antibiotic. I haven't found a vaccine yet that doesn't have an antibiotic. Not one that goes through your digestive tract, one pumped directly into your bloodstream. Nobody can argue this stuff. So the cancer vaccines are on the rise. They're coming for you. If they already got you on the cholesterol drugs and they already got you on the flu shots, all of that, all of the cholesterol stuff and all the flu shot stuff will pale in comparison when they mandate forced cancer vaccinations. It will pale in comparison. So the United States has 5% of the world's population. We consume 50% of the drugs. We consume 80% of the opioids. Okay? So we have the most expensive healthcare system due to, not because we're fixing things, but we have the most expensive healthcare system because due to overpriced and unnecessary drugs, which the Journal of the American Medical Association even says the third leading cause of death in the United States is prescription drugs. Vaccines are prescription drugs. So if they already got you on the cholesterol drugs and the the proton pump inhibitors and the levothyroxine and all of the hormone drugs and the bioidentical hormones, bioidentical. Say that word again, bioidentical. See? Doesn't that sound weird? Bioidentical. Name something that's bioidentical. We can't make grass. We can't make a rock, but we can make a hormone? Come on now. So just think about it. If they've already got you on some of those things, you really need to think about how this is being presented to you. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. Anybody know Jonathan Edwards? I know you do. You know how he died? Have you ever heard how he died? He was trying to demonstrate to the preacher, old preacher from England. He died at 54 years old. He had one of the most famous sermons of all time, right? I just found this out. Chris Glass told me this. Thank you, Chris Glass, if you are out there. He told me this. He said, did you know how Jonathan Edwards died? I said, Jonathan Edwards, sinners in the hands of an angry God, Jonathan Edwards? He said, yeah. He said, he demonstrated. I looked this up online. It was true. He was trying to demonstrate to people of the day that inoculation and immunization was like the thing to do to keep away from smallpox. He died as a result of an inoculation. Widely known. I did not know that, but Chris Glass turned me on to that. I just want to, and we already covered that the difference between vaccination and immunization. We already covered, remember, vaccination is you're putting it directly into your bloodstream. That's the shot. That's the toxic cocktail. Kim, are you being blinded?
Yeah,
The sunlight.
Move over a couple inches
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, you can move over. Yeah.
Because it's over the top of the
And
board.
yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. I'm sorry.
You
But
can move the other way too. You and Eddie can scooch the other way if you need.
they're so cute. So the vaccination that's the cocktail, okay? But the immunization is just the immune response to rubbing that thing into that sore, and now your body is okay with it. So what a vaccination was 100, 200 years ago, late 1700s, and what they are now, totally different. Totally different. Plus, we're putting all these chemicals and adjuvants into it, okay? I'm going to skip all this stuff. Measles in the media, 92% of the current measles scare that's in the media, 92% of those cases are already vaccinated. Got it. One thing I really want you to get to, Yehuda Schoenfeld, this is the game changer. This is a big, giant silver bullet in the whole case, okay? Yehuda Schoenfeld, he's a doctor. He came up with this new, it's called ASIA, A-S-I-A, okay? It's autoimmune. This is widely known. This guy's written 1,700 medical journals, medical articles. You'll hear of this now. Just like a while ago, everybody was talking about panda. Now everybody's going to be talking about Asia. This is autoimmune syndrome induced by adjuvants. And I'll spell this out. Adjuvant. What's an adjuvant? Something you put into the vaccine in order to stimulate and to irritate an immune response from the body. I remember in that vaccinology course in undergrad, in that master's level vaccinology course, somebody actually asked the question, why do we put adjuvants in the vaccines? And nobody could answer. Nobody really knew. Why are we putting aluminum and mercury and all this stuff in the vaccines? Nobody really knew. But an adjuvant, just by name, is there to stimulate and artificially cause an immune response, okay? So Yehuda Schoenfeld, he coined this term. It's an actual condition now. It's documented in the medical books. He's authored all these papers, and he has, well, I'm not sure if he wrote it, but Either this is quoted in that book, or he wrote the book. I'm pretty sure he wrote the book, but it's called Vaccines and Autoimmunity. It's an actual medical textbook, all about autoimmune diseases caused, I have a picture of the cover of the book, caused by vaccines. It's an actual medical textbook. You can't argue with that. This guy's written a lot of stuff. So the aluminum hydroxide is a common vaccine adjuvant. You know the second chemical, Canna? You know the second chemical in that sunscreen today?
What was it?
Aluminum hydroxide.
Was it really?
Absolutely. Second chemical.
That explains why they got so burnt.
Completely, absolutely. So aluminum hydroxide, it's there to keep the nervous system chronically hypersensitive, hyperactive. So this explains the massive increase in autoimmune diseases in kids: asthma, diabetes, allergies, skin problems, eczema, psoriasis. You know kids with all these problems. Do you not? Everybody knows kids with these problems. Are the kids getting healthier or are the kids getting sicker? Say it loud.
Sicker.
How do you know? Huh? How do you know? I'm just asking. I'm just making sure that you're not saying something just because you want me, you want that I want you to say it. How do we know the kids are getting sicker?
Because you see more and more kids with diabetes and everything else now.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist, does it, Paul? No, no. Are we giving more vaccinations now or less vaccinations than we did 30 years ago? More. Everybody knows. So what's the correlation here? They should be, if the vaccines worked and everything, they should be getting a lot healthier, should they not? They should. So there's no such thing as a safe vaccine. So in order to stimulate the immune system in these kids, you have to hypersensitize it, and the only way to do that is with adjuvants. That's why this is autoimmune syndrome induced by adjuvants. It's a new condition. There's textbooks on it. Yehuda Schoenfeld, that's who we're talking about, 1,700 papers. So we're trading, by this whole measles thing, we're trading like a week-long childhood rash for a lifetime of multiple illnesses. Remember in the 50s, 60s, 70s, I know it's widely reputed out there that all the moms and the dads would have the kids come over and get chickenpox, have chickenpox parties. They'd have measles parties, okay? So you'll invariably hear the whole, oh, what about polio? What about smallpox? That's a good question. I had the same question. Do you want to see people die in iron lungs? Do you want to see people die of smallpox? No, I don't. But that's a good question. We can get to it. We probably won't have time to do it tonight. And Hannah, I want you to do your little thing too.
Well, and I was going to say, if we want to get into the detail, I can just do a little video and we can present it to everybody.
That'd be
That
good.
might be a better.
That's a better idea, yeah. Vaccines are the #1 cause of disease in children. No safety or efficacy studies have been done. Anytime somebody comes in here and they ask about a kid, the first thing in doctors' minds like myself is vaccines. The second thing is food. The third thing is what chemicals are they around. Okay? Always. So many times because, well, we just had somebody last week. They're moving to Chicago. Their kid was vaccine damaged. They brought him here. And within, I don't know how many months, kid got remarkably better.
Yeah, they were here for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And when he came in, I mean, it was an absolute turnaround. He had
He could barely
no
talk.
stability to look you in the eye.
Oh.
He was nonverbal. I mean, he was completely changed in 6 months. He's actually a kid again.
He's a kid again.
Brings tears to your eyes when you see that.
It's heavy, yeah. So nobody can take that from you. You can argue with me all day. But when you have somebody come in as a nurse and they bring their vaccine damaged kids to you and they say, I was the one, I sat there and watched it, nobody's going to argue with that. There's some websites out there. If you want more information on some of these websites, hit me up, leave me a comment. We can private message them to you. I'm not going to spread this out there. But the last forced vaccination was for smallpox. It was when only one vaccine existed. Now there's 72 vaccines and they're not dosed for body weight. That means your premature baby gets the same dosage as a 300-pound defensive lineman. Does that sound like a good idea? We may. Yeah. We may. Man, this is deep. I can't get into all this. This is heavy duty. There's no more informed consent with vaccines. The average vaccine-aware parent knows 10 times more than the doctors do who are administering the vaccines because they've actually looked into the research. They've actually got the papers. They've got the monographs. They've got the vaccine insert. The doctor never read those. So you can tell what's in the vaccine. If any of you, well, we'll cover the silver bullets here in a little while. 80% to 90% of, and I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. This is not my intention at all. But people have to understand, I know pediatricians. I know doctors who are holistic pediatricians. They're not here in this town, thank you. But the doctors, they will admit to you, some of the doctors in some of these movies, books, and DVDs will admit that if, as a pediatrician, 80 to 90% of your income comes from vaccines. The rest of it comes from antibiotics and steroids. So if 80 to 90% of your income comes from vaccines, and you have a whole bevy of patients who don't want to vaccinate, you're going to kick them out of your practice because they're not being compliant. It would be like somebody coming to me and saying, well, I just want this and this, but I'm not going to change my diet. Okay, well, then you're not going to be a patient here. I hate to say it, but that's just how it works, you're here because something's not going right. So I'm going to give you control back to your life, but you have to be willing to exhibit some of that control. And if you're not, then this isn't the right place for everybody, and we get that. So if you understand that, and the pediatricians are truthful, and some of the biggest proponents for vaccine truth out there are the pediatricians. I'm just bringing it out there. So here's a couple of vaccine silver bullets. This will hopefully help you end any problems or debates, or just bring up some talking points with people. Like I said, there's emotion and then there's logic, and the two things cannot coexist together. People can get mad, people can get furious, but if you can talk to them logically, you've got a chance. If they're emotional, come back later. It's not going to happen. Some of these talking points, the U.S. Vaccine Injury Compensation Act, it was signed into, it was 1986, Ronald Reagan signed it. It's a nearly impossible compensation plan, but it was created with funding from the very drug companies that created the vaccines. So if there was no vaccine injury, then we have an entire U.S. Vaccine Injury Compensation Act signed into law by Ronald Reagan in 1986 that means nothing. So look into that. Number two, the product monographs, particularly if you go to section 13.1, in each one of those vaccine monographs, that means go to your pharmacist, say, hey, I'd like the I'd like the vaccine monograph for Fluvaril, or I'd like the vaccine monograph for Gardasil. They might find it, they might have it. There's usually a pallet of vaccines shipped with one monograph taped to the outside of it. So you might have to ask, or you might have to go dig around. If you can't get it at the drugstore, go online. They're all available. Vaccinepapers.org. You can also just search Gardasil product monograph. Guess what? It has to be on the manufacturer's website in its entirety. It's a PDF. You can download it. You can read it. You can see what's in there. Go to section 13.1 and tell me if that's something. Read what it says right there. I'll let you figure it out on your own. Tell me why you would allow that in your body, or why you would want to pump that into a child. I'll let you figure that out on your own. I'm not going to tell you what it says. Number three, vaccine companies are exempt from lawsuits in the US. If Goodyear makes faulty tires and your tires blow out, you can sue Goodyear. But if you have a vaccine damaged kid, you got no recourse. You cannot sue the vaccine courts, but you cannot sue the vaccine manufacturer, but you can take it to the US Vaccine Injury Compensation Act and maybe perhaps get compensated if you can prove it and gargle peanut butter standing upside down in running water on your head. Perhaps. They make it very difficult. But exemption from lawsuits, the FDA approves the vaccine and then the CDC markets it. You ought to look into what Robert F. Kennedy is doing. He's a lawyer, he's a genius, he's brilliant, and he's doing a lot in the vaccine arena right now because he's really starting to realize what's going on. He has one of the most brilliant interviews I've ever seen in my life in episode 1. I think it's episode 1 of this right here. It absolutely pulled the curtain down on the vaccine courts and the vaccine manufacturers because he's a politician and he knows what's up. And he actually said this quote. He said, I've been petitioning to get mercury out of tuna fish for 30 years. Nobody calls me anti-fish. But when I want to get mercury taken out of the vaccines, they call me a baby killer. That's the lunacy of it. He's a lawyer. He's not stupid. He's got Project Mercury. What is the name of the, what's the name? I didn't write it down, Hannah. Project Mercury. Look up RFK, Project Mercury Free, I think it's called. So RFK, he's leading the charge on some of this stuff. You need to know about the movies Vaxxed. You need to know about what happened with Robert De Niro at the I believe it was the Sundance Film Festival 2016. What was it?
Yeah, for Vex.
No, what was the RFK, his website, Project Mercury Free, I believe it is. So he's just simply trying to get mercury taken out of stuff. And he was introduced to the whole vaccine debate by a few moms who had vaccine damaged kids. And he looked at it and went, this is an open and shut case. Why is nobody taking care of this? Why is nobody fighting this? And then he started seeing where the money was coming from. Very interesting. The history of deception, fraud, malfeasance. This is vaccine silver bullet number 4. You might want to look into the history of deception, fraud, malfeasance. You might want to search. We already talked about fluoride, GMOs, pharma, geoengineering, all that's the same companies. But you might want to look up the CDC whistleblower case with William Thompson, 2014. 2 guys came out and finally admitted, and it's on court documents, it's affidavits, the whole 9 yards. They're making documentaries about this. It's massive, and you ain't going to see it on CNN. It will never show up on Fox News. Biblical proof of vaccines is witchcraft. We won't get into that right now. I could go off on that forever. Aborted fetal tissue with blood products of other animals. I put up an article one time that I caught a lot of flack for. I just shared it. I thought it was brilliantly written, and I thought it was amazing. It was an article. Put this down if you want to find this. God does not support vaccines. Read this article. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's brilliant. You'll find it out there. I found it a little while ago. And I got more flack for posting that article in a Christian town, and most of it came from a lot of university kids around here. I don't mind saying it. It was crazy. They actually wanted to turn me into their biology teacher for being a quack. Huh?
There's EcoWatch. EcoWatch talks about World Mercury Project and CDC.
RFK. Type in Robert F. Kennedy and Mercury. He's got a Mercury-free project. Project Free. I think it's Mercury-free project. That's what it is. But yeah, just search it. I don't want to tell people the wrong thing. Vaccines are the one class of drug exempt from safety and efficacy studies with unwritten fast-track approval processes with the FDA and CDC. They bypass normal defenses by injection directly into the bloodstream. See, hypodermic needles did not exist back when Edward Jenner did the whole cowpox thing back in the late 1700s. So now that we have hypodermic needles and we're able to bypass digestion and inhalation, now you can inject whatever you want right into the bloodstream, and boom, now your body has to mount an immune response. Here's number 9. Every anti-vaxxer is a former pro-vaxxer. With medical workers often leading the way. Okay, that's nurses, that's pediatricians, things like that. You will never find someone who is against vaccines that wasn't first for them, like I told you at the very beginning. And it's not so much that we're anti-vaccine, it's that we're pro-information. Okay, I'm never going to say I'm anti something unless I've already looked into it. Okay, I'm not going to be against something unless I already look at it and go, okay, well, it makes sense to have liberty and sovereignty over my own body. So it's like Robert F. Kennedy said, I'm not anti-fish, I'm pro-understanding of mercury being bad. I'm not anti-mercury, I'm pro-fish. It's like the same thing, I'm pro-science. I'll never tell somebody I'm an anti-vaxxer, I'll say, no, I'm into the science. The science says, not paid for by the pharmaceutical company science, not the crap I heard in undergrad, but the anecdotal stuff, moms and dads coming in and saying, I don't know what happened except that one day. That ain't going to be in a white paper, people. You're never going to see that in a white paper. Last thing, when we test people here for nutrition, and I'll lead into what we do here, when we test people for nutrition, we test mainly 5 human stressors. Foods, when the day I realized this, it blew me away. Foods, immune challenges, bacteria, virus, fungus, parasites, pathogens, things like that that cause problems. Metals, chemicals, and scar tissue. There are 5 what we call stressors that can really screw up your body. I'll say them again. Food, immune challenges, metals, chemicals, and scar tissue. How many do vaccines contain? Anybody? All 5. You've got the food proteins, you've got the bugs that they're there to the dead viruses and bacteria, stuff like that. You've got the chemicals, you've got the metals, and what do they create when you puncture the skin? As minute as it could be. You've got all 5 major human stressors in one substance. That blew me away the day I figured that out. So if you know physiology, those are vaccine silver bullets. If you know physiology, you'll never be an information slave. So here's one thing I'll leave you with this real quick. The question to ask your doctor, okay? If you were to ever ask your doctor, will you give me in writing, I got this from an actual pediatrician. I thought, oh, this is genius. You have to sign all this paperwork in order to be exempt. If you want to know how to be exempt, we can show you. It's Tennessee. Every state's different. There's medical, there's religious, there's philosophical. We do not have philosophical in Tennessee. We've got medical and religious. Medical is almost impossible to get, so you have to go with religious. So what do you think will be the first one they'll take away? That's why it hurt so bad to see people coming against me when I put that article, God does not support vaccines. To see who attacked me on it was crazy. That was 2 years ago. I could not believe the flack that I got from that. It's on my Facebook. You can go find it. But you should search for that article because it's brilliantly written. Question to ask your doctor, though. If you have to sign all this paperwork, to get out of the vaccine thing. Question to ask your doctor is, will you give me in writing your personal guarantee that if you vaccinate my child, the vaccine will be totally effective and totally safe? You want me to sign all the stuff? Okay, here. I just want you to sign. I get your car, your boat, your house, your kids, the whole 9 yards. You go ahead and sign that, because that's basically what you're asking me to sign. And so far to this day, no one has taken up that offer. And that was in one of these documentaries. So we'll talk about Hannah's depot shot, pilonidal cyst, revelation. It happened about a year ago,
Yeah,
coming up on a year.
Exactly, it was June 11th when it started,
Yeah.
June 18th when it ended.
Coming up on about a year, and that was all vaccine related. We can get to that. We should do a little short video, throw that on Facebook at some point. But understand that we're taking a chance. We don't like to ruffle people's feathers, but there are things that are being censored out there. A lot of the news sources and a lot of the YouTube channels, Facebook, big Facebook channels are being shut down because they're preaching truth like this. So if they're shutting you down, censorship in the United States of America, what does that tell you? Does that tell you there might be something there for you to understand? Last thing, what do we do here? How do we, okay, so that's all the bad news. I don't want to leave you guys with all the bad news. What do you do? How do you fix it? Okay, what do you do with all of this if you know that your kids, well, and I hear it all the time, what do you do? Your kids, they won't let your kids in school? Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. The only way that you can get hosed is if 100% hosed is if you're military, which is why we talked about this. You're military, you get in here, we can help you. Gulf War syndrome, all that stuff you've been suffering with, it's massive. It's a huge thing. And it's related to you being pincushions. So that's the only way you're not getting out of vaccines. You're U.S. government property. So that's the only way you're not getting through it. I've known plenty of people, got plenty of stories on that. So other than that, you can get through it. You can get out of things. People need to be aware and wake up on this, though, so that they can fight it. There are plenty of websites out there. I can give you all kinds of information. I've got enough stuff in this office where you wouldn't have time in your life to read it or watch all of it. And it's good information that's all substantiated. People aren't making money off this stuff. It's not like they're selling the vaccines. They're preaching this against very much opposition because they know what's going on and they see it. So what do you do? Well, now that I've delivered all the bad news to you, what do you do? Well, the solution is right here. We're giving you free information, complimentary information, letting you know, hey, we know you've got kids, we know you've got grandkids, we know these talks are coming. You're going to be at a family reunion, and someone's going to say, what do you mean you don't vaccinate your kids? What about smallpox? What about measles? What about polio? You don't care about your kid, you're a baby killer. How do you respond? Do you respond emotionally back to them and get into this, match of words with them? Or do you say, well, I've looked, as a matter of fact, I've got the vaccine inserts right here. Do you want to read about them? Here's the actual manufacturing thing from the manufacturer of the vaccine. How many people have actually looked at this? See, but they're going to call you names, and I'm just trying to prepare you ahead of time. The other thing is, too, just like we talked about with those testimonials, the whole reason I read those testimonials was this. What if we could save you from a surgery? Or what if we could save you from having to be on drugs for 30 years? Or what if we could save you from your kid being diagnosed with a massive neurological deficiency? Wearing helmets and diapers until age 21 is not normal. I was in school. Ask yourself this question. You don't see any autistic 40-year-olds, do you? And why do the autistic kids you see, 99.9% of them are males? Am I right or am I right? I'm right. Thank you. So think about that. There's answers to that. There's easy answers to that you're never going to see. So what do you do in the meantime? How do we fix this? Insurance. Divine design.
I just want to let you know about something.
Yeah.
I've been researching a little bit. There is information out there about the World Mercury Project, but two things. The website has been taken down, and the Facebook page has also been taken down. So that should tell you a little something.
The Mercury Free Project. Robert
It's
F.
called
Kennedy.
the World Mercury Project is what it's called.
Yeah. World Mercury Project.
And you can't find the webpage anymore. When you actually find the link to it, it's been taken down, and the Facebook page has been taken down as well.
Wow.
But but there are still, like EcoWatch
Yeah,
is a page that talks all about it.
yeah.
You can go there.
Yeah, so just be aware that they're pulling this stuff down. Be aware that some of these books are no longer available on Amazon. You have to go to a private web page and order them. Some of these documentaries, understand, some of these people are getting taken off the internet. They have massive followings on YouTube, hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers, and all of a sudden they're just demonetized. There's something that they don't want you to know. So what do we do? How do we fix? How do we fix all this? Divine Design Natural Health. How did we fix little guy the other day that had been coming here for months and months, and his mom knew that she knew that she knew that she knew it was vaccines. She knew it. How do we fix them? Stimulate their nervous system, chiropractic, oldest natural health profession on the planet, biggest natural health profession on the planet. Egyptians, Chinese did it 6,000 years ago. You got it. Hands of another person. Everything we use here is ancient. Nothing can hurt you. What do we use? Hands. Life is in the blood, right? Plants, animals. Here's how it all works. Water, electricity, light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And heat. 7. Nice round biblical number right there, right? So nutrition. We get the good stuff in, detox, take the bad stuff out, laser, that's all the submicroscopic genetic, and this is all the big stuff that you can lay your hands on. We use hands, nutrition, plants and animals, detoxification, we use water, electricity, and heat, and laser, we use light, we use photons. Everything we use here is ancient. None of it can hurt you. You can't get too much of it, and it has no expiration date. It's super easy. Yes, question. Questions on Facebook?
I want to say, just for you guys, it's very, this,
Oh no,
hold on.
hold on.
Okay, so what we were just talking about with Kennedy.
Question from Facebook?
No, I just need to add on one more thing to what I said earlier about Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
They did save the information, and you guys, it's really good information. You should go look at it.
That's a bad website. This guy
childrenshealthdefense.org is where it's all been moved over to.
Wow.
Children's Health Defense, but it has been taken off of Facebook because Facebook is censoring everything.
Facebook is censoring. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they censored this, but you know what? If you're afraid of being censored, then they already got you. And I'm not going to just lay down and watch this happen. If I'm afraid of being censored, if I'm afraid of being if you keep your voice quiet because you're afraid of being silenced, you've already been silenced. I'm not going to do it. People already think I'm nuts because whether Christian or whether you're a chiropractor or whether you drive a minivan or whatever, man, people are going to think you're nuts regardless. I'd rather go down swinging in a blaze of glory saying, you're going to learn this, whether I told you or whether some dude 5 years from now tells you, you're going to see it and you're going to go, thank you. You're going to see it and you're going to go, that made sense. When he said it, something right here stirred, kind of bugged me, maybe made me angry, maybe pissed me off a little bit. But you know what? Something he's saying is right. Moms, the moms that come in here getting kicked out of their pediatrician's offices, coming in and they finally got somebody that listens to them and says, you're totally justified. You are absolutely right. You are being defensive of your kids. What's wrong with that? You want to just give somebody an unlimited free reign to inject crap into their blood and they're calling you crazy? No, talk to me, mama. Come on, let's sit down. Tell me everything. Absolutely, you're home now. This is good. Some people dig it. Great. Some people think I'm nuts. Great. Guess what I'm doing? Helping people. That's what we're doing. So I will not be silent about it. Facebook, shut me down. Google, shut me down. YouTube, shut me down. We built this without any of you all anyway. All word of mouth, so I'm not afraid. So whatever. So with that being said, if any of you here, I know there's a bunch of new people here, I will not be silenced by this. I just won't. So we know enough. When you know enough where your conviction is there, no one can shut your mouth. No one can shut your mouth. And you know what? I'm passionate. You know what really gets me about this? I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't even have kids. And this is passionate. I'm so passionate about this. I don't even have kids. Why are the people that have kids not passionate about this? That's what blows me away. They know it's happening to kids, but they don't, oh, well, I don't have, you know, oh, my kids are grown. Well, but don't your kids have grandkids? Well, yeah. Jeez. That's what burns my biscuits about the whole thing. Just to tell you the truth. I'm just venting Facebook, that's all. I'm just venting a little bit. So if you're new here and you've never been here, we're officially done. I got to give out some free stuff if y'all don't mind some free stuff. But, oh, should we close it off? Yeah. Oh, and we're going to answer some questions. We're going to cut everything off. We're going to have a private closed door session for all the people that are here to where we can talk about the stuff that would really get us kicked off Facebook, Google, and everything else. So we just want to thank you. Any questions or comments or anything on Facebook?
Hellos and check-ins.
Yes, we love hellos and check-ins. Thank you. Share, like, post, send, whole 9 yards. Yeah.
I was just
Is that
gonna
it?
say that's just hellos and check-ins from different people.
Sweet. Okay. All right. So thank you. We're wrapping it up. So Facebook, rock and roll. If you shut us down, you shut us down. We still love you. You can't stop love, baby. So we thank you. Share this, like it, and send it. Amen. Rock and roll.